you for joining us today. Today's session is focused on one critical question. How do we build AI systems that are not just intelligent, but responsible, secure, and compliant? Today, AI is no longer experimental. It is embedded in critical business decisions, customer interactions, and even regulatory reporting. But with this rapid adoption, the question is not whether to use AI, but how to use AI responsibly, securely, and in a compliant manner. AI governance, when we talk about, we are referring to ensuring AI systems are trustworthy, transparent, and accountable. We need to know and understand how to manage risks such as biasness, privacy violations, and security threats, and how to align AI usage with regulatory expectations and ethical principles. In simple words, AI governance is equals to risk plus compliance plus ethics plus control over AI systems. In our experience, working with enterprises across BFSI, fintech, regulated sectors, we see common challenges. And who all are present in the webinar would agree with me, which is actually the lack of visibility into where AI is being used. There is no structured AI approach to the AI risk assessment. And we as an organization find difficulty aligning with evolving regulations like ISO 42001, NIST AI framework, MITRE Atlas maturity framework. So what we did is we as an cybersecurity organization helping our clients, we have designed a strategic AI governance and risk advisory framework that helps organizations to identify AI risks and how to implement 42001 aligned controls considering those risks. And not only 42001, but different global frameworks and regulatory expectations, as you can see over the screen. Also, we have built certain responsible AI practices that client can adopt and in their environment that are scalable and auditable. So what we'll do is in today's session, we will walk you through AI risk landscape, what can go wrong and why it matters to any industry, to any sector, and how to implement 42001 in your organization, mapping with global frameworks like NIST, MITRE, EU AI Act. And by the end of this session, you will have a clear roadmap on how to move from AI adoption to responsible AI governance. So I would love to hear questions at the end of the session as we go forward. I'll take it in the end only. Let's move to the second slide where I'll just talk about my organization. Before we move ahead, I will briefly introduce Cyber SRC and how we support organizations in their cybersecurity compliance and now increasingly AI in their AI risk journeys. We are a certain STQC and certain empaneled organization, and we specialize in providing cybersecurity compliance and risk advisory to the enterprises across sectors like BFSI, fintech, healthcare, manufacturing. And we also support organizational aligning with key regulations such as DPDP, EUA Act, RBI, SEBI guidelines, global privacy frameworks. With the rise of AI, we are helping organizations build AI governance framework, AI risk assessment models, responsible AI policies that are aligned with 42001, NIST, AI framework. Okay, so let's pause to understand the reality. I hope you all agree with me. AI adoption is no longer is in the future. It is already happening at scale across industries. If you look at this data on the left of the slide, you can clearly see that AI adoption is spread across multiple sectors. Information sector leading at around 17%, professional services at 13%, education, real estate, and finance sectors also actively adopting AI. Even sectors like manufacturing, construction, transportation are now integrating AI into their operations. Let's look into some examples. In BFSI, if you can see on the right of the slide, I mentioned that AI is deeply embedded into credit scoring, fraud detection, email monitoring, customer risk profiling. So these are high risk decision making systems directly impacting customers and regulatory compliance. If we talk about healthcare, in healthcare, AI used for diagnostics and clinical decision support, patient triage, drug discovery. Here, the risk is even more critical because decisions can directly impact human lives. Coming to the manufacturing industry, predictive maintenance, quality inspection, supply chain optimization, you name it, AI is driving operational efficiency and cost optimization here also. If we talk about fintech, we can deeply understand it. AI has its deep roots in digital lending, KYC automation, robo advisory, real time writing. So, across industries, we are seeing rapid AI adoption, but limited governance and control mechanisms. This creates a critical gap. AI is being deployed faster than it is being governed. And that is exactly where frameworks like 42001, NIST becomes essential. So I have intentionally put this slide because till now, many organizations have been experimenting with AI, running pilots, POCs, and isolated use cases. But today, we are clearly seeing a shift. We are moving from AI experimentation to AI deployment at scale. And with this shift, expectations have changed. Boards, regulators, and even customers are now asking, is your AI system accountable? Is it transparent? Can you provide evidence of responsible usage? So there is also a government imperative in it. So if we talk about regulatory scrutiny, it is intensifying, right? So we are seeing strong regulatory movements like EU AI Act, India's DPTP Act, sectoral regulations from RBI, SEBI. There are no longer guidelines. They are becoming enforceable obligations with real penalties for non-compliance. And most importantly, it is a risk to the organization reputation and customer trust. It creates a loss of customer trust. If we talk about the second point, enterprise accountability is expanding. Earlier, technology teams owned AI systems. Now, boards, CXOs, senior management are being held accountable for AI driven decisions, especially in areas like lending, hiring, healthcare. So, there is a major shift from technical ownership to organizational accountability. And most importantly, trust is becoming competitive advantage. So, as I talked earlier, organizations that can demonstrate responsible AI practices, transparency, fairness, they will gain customer trust, investor confidence, long-term sustainability. Let's look at some real incidents. I would like to talk about it, along with when they happened and what we learned from them. So, if you might have heard about uh, the bias in AI, right? So, it was reported back in 2018 that Amazon scrapped its AI hiring tool after discovering it was biased against women. And in India also, recently there has been a rise in AI-generated deepfake videos, including celebrity impersonations, political manipulations, fraud cases, right? Uh, Deepfake financial scams also you've heard about, right? RBI governor RBI issued an official warning about AI-generated deepfake videos of the governor being circulated online. So there are some other examples also. Deepfake scams using voice cloning, video impersonation, engineering. These attacks trick users and uh, ask them to do the payments or sharing sensitive data. We could also see other examples where AI-based digital lending platforms in India faced scrutiny due to opaque credit decisioning, data misuse from mobile apps, automated harassment in recovery. So that's all that like the AI risk will be booming as the technology will be increasing in AI. And let's learn something about AI risks, and we'll talk about the landscape around it. Different types of AI risks. Shadow AI risks. It refers to the use of unapproved, unofficial AI tools by employees. For example, ChatGPT, usage with sensitive data or external AI plugins that could impact data leakage of confidential information. There is no governance, no audit trail around it, and violation of DPDP, GDPR, internal policies, etc. Example, employees pasting customer data into public AI tools. You could imagine the impact. If you talk about the agentic AI, autonomous decision making, we are now moving towards AI systems that don't just assist but decide. So, autonomous workflows, if you talk about the approvals, fraud detection, hiring, filters. So, risk of wrong or biased decision is at scale. That example I already took for it. AI rejecting loan applications without transparent reasoning. So that could also create a huge impact. This is a critical risk. If you talk about the multi-agent systems, organizations are increasingly deploying multiple AI agents working together. That increases efficiency, but it also uh, increases complexity, inter-agent communication risks, cascading failures that are harder to trace. And we are at the stage that we can't identify the root cause. Example, one AI model feeding incorrect data to another and it increases the error. It amplifies the error. Okay, so let's move to the categories of enterprise AI risk. So we have explained this in depth, like if we talk about the bias and discrimination. category. So AI models are trained on historical data, right? And and amplify societal biases leading to discriminatory outcomes. Like we already talked about it, credit scoring, recruitment, and medical diagnosis. Root cause, if we talk about the risk of the root cause, historical data bias, legal liability, unfair outcomes. Example, I have given you the example of one of the incident, hiring biasness, credit scoring biasness. Other category of the risk would be the lack of explainability. If we are using the black box models, so that could be a risk that we are not sure about the outputs, right? Any manipulation done within the model. And there is a regulatory demand for explainability. So it could be impossible to explain decisions to the regulators and customers, creating accountability gaps. If you talk about data privacy risks, uh, training on the data sets that contain personal or sensitive personal information, that could introduce a compliance risk. We know that with respect to DPDPA, GDPR, right? The risk is consent violation and data misuse. If we talk about model drift and reliability, so AI models degrade silently, right? As real world data shifts over time. So the risk could be the silent failures. That is actually a high business risk. Other than that, adversarial AI attacks. So manipulated inputs, incorrect outputs, that is a risk. Security threat in the fraud detection uh, module or application, right? The other one, if we talk about, is the regulatory and the reputational risk. Definitely, it is connected to the regulatory aspect. So non-compliance means the penalties and the brand damage. The message that I want to convey here is that AI risk is multidimensional and it is spanning legally, ethically, technically, and operationally. Means in all the domains. If we go to this bias and understand this bias, transparency, and privacy, right? So AI models are trained on historical data, right? And accordingly, they inherit the things and they amplify the things, whether right or wrong. We talked about the credit scoring, recruitment, medical diagnosis. So I mean, impact would be greater if we are not sure like what inputs are given, what inputs are being inherited, and accordingly what outputs are being generated. Like we have talked about the black box models, right? So the demand is that regulators demand why behind the decisions. Means if any organization is using black box models, there is a clear accountability gap, right? There is a lack of explainability, there is a risk of data privacy, right? So organizations need to understand like how AIs are trained on large data sets, includes PII, right? On the usage basis, on the consent part, if we talk about the DPTP and the other privacy frameworks. So controls that we need to consider is that we organizations need to understand and we can help the organizations to design their testing frameworks, bias testing frameworks, explainable AI, data minimization, consent management. Because trust in AI is equals to fairness plus transparency plus privacy. I hope it makes clear like we have covered a part where we are generally topping the types of AI model